What do you do when your own child looks at you as if you no longer deserve a place in her world? My name is Eudora Lane, and the night my daughter drenched me in wine, I realized just how easy it was for a family to forget who kept them standing. It happened at a simple Sunday dinner in Santa Rosa. No holiday, no birthday, just a table full of people who had once claimed to love me. Maribel stood at the head, her chin lifted like she was hosting royalty instead of her 72-year-old mother. Her voice sliced through the chatter before I even felt the cold splash. The wine hit my face first, then my blouse. A sharp gasp erupted from someone, but it dissolved quickly into laughter. Maribel's voice rose above it all. "You have until sunrise to leave my house. Do you hear me? Sunrise?" Aunt Loretta clapped like she was watching a performance. Cousin Mindy covered her mouth, but her eyes were bright with excitement. They wanted the spectacle. They wanted to see if I would break. I did not give them that pleasure. I dabbed the dripping wine from my cheek with the edge of my sleeve. My hand did not shake. My breath did not waver. I looked directly at my daughter, the child I raised through grief and scraped paychecks and long nights, and I felt something in me settle into place. Instead of crying, I smiled. Slow, steady, deliberate. I reached into my handbag, the old leather one Maribel always mocked, and closed my fingers around a single object. When I placed the tarnished brass key on the table, it made a soft click that cut through every voice in the room. "Then you have 60 seconds. The laughter died. The air tightened. Loretta's hands froze mid-clap. Mindy leaned back as if the key might burn her, because they recognized it. Maribel's face drained of color, her mouth opening but no sound coming out. She knew exactly what that key belonged to and what I was capable of revealing. I did not explain. I simply rose to my feet, letting the silence deepen as I walked toward the hallway. Behind me, chairs scraped, breaths caught, and the truth none of them wanted to face finally began unfolding, piece by piece, into the night ahead. I was not always the woman who could look her daughter in the eye after being humiliated. There was a time I would have folded instantly, trying to soothe her before myself. After Emmett died, it was just Maribel and me. Two shadows moving through the old ranch house in Santa Rosa, pretending we were whole. "Mom, you are not listening," teenage Maribel said once, slamming her bedroom door hard enough that the frame shook. "I am listening," I answered, standing in the hallway with the patience of someone who no longer had the strength to shout. She swung the door open. "No. You are managing me. There is a difference." Her words stung because they were said with the sharp intelligence she inherited from her father. Maribel was brilliant, even then straighta report cards, art competitions, a speaking voice that teachers adored. But beneath all of that light was a deep insecurity she worked hard to hide. When the scandal happened at her high school, that insecurity nearly swallowed her. A teacher claimed Maribel had plagiarized a major essay. She was 17, terrified, shaking so badly she could barely hold a pen. Gregory was not in her life yet. It was just us. "Tell me the truth," I whispered to her that night. "I wrote it. I swear," she cried. The next morning, I stood in the principal's office and lied cleanly. I helped her. I gave her phrases, ideas. It was my mistake, not hers. I carried the humiliation so she would not have to. They believed me. They let her graduate without a mark. Maribel never mentioned it again, but her eyes changed after that, as if she learned that mistakes could be erased if someone else bled for them. Years later, when she met Gregory Holt at a community fundraiser, I saw how he leaned into that vulnerability. "You could do better." "Maribel," he murmured often, loud enough for me to hear, "your mother kept you small. I can help you rise." She listened. She believed him. And somewhere in that shift, the girl who once clung to me for safety began turning her back, step by careful step, until all I could see was distance. That distance led us to the table where the wine fell. I started the ledger on a night when the house felt too quiet and my chest felt too tight. I had just covered an overdue mortgage payment Maribel insisted she would handle soon. When I told her I had taken care of it, her answer was a cool, "Well, someone had to." No thank you. No acknowledgement. Just expectation. That was the moment I opened a blank notebook and wrote the first line. One emergency mortgage payment, $3,800. I wrote it down slowly, pressing the pen hard enough that the paper nearly tore. Not out of anger, out of fear that if I didn't record it, I would forget what was mine and what was taken. The entries multiplied faster than I expected. Mom, Gregory needs a short-term loan. He will pay it back. I wrote it down. Loan taken under my name. $9,000. Never repaid. I am begging you, Eudora. My boutique is drowning. Please, just this once. I wrote it business loss coverage. $11,500. Each request came with a sense of urgency, as if failing them would make me responsible for their collapse. And every time I gave in, they acted as if I had simply done my duty. Gregory once left a stack of documents on my kitchen table. "Just sign here," he said, tapping the last page. What am I signing for? A small adjustment. We are all family. Trust me. I did not trust him, but Maribel stood behind him, arms crossed, eyes daring me to refuse. I signed. Later, I found out it allowed him to take another loan under my credit. I added it to the ledger with shaking hands, but the numbers were not the hardest part. Eventually, I began writing down the sentences too. Words cut deeper than debt. You hold me back. You ruin every opportunity. You were nothing before I made you part of my life. Stop acting like you matter so much. The ledger grew heavy as months passed. Not from ink, but from the weight of everything I had swallowed to keep our fragile peace. I kept it hidden in my bedside drawer, the one place Maribel never bothered to look. It was the only record of the life I had carried alone, one quiet entry at a time. The fall was small, barely more than a slip on the kitchen rug, but it was enough to rattle me. I sat on the floor for a long moment, listening to my breath and the silence pressing around me. When I finally stood, something in me insisted I go to the attic, as if an old instinct had reached up from the past and tugged at my sleeve. The attic door creaked when I pulled it open. I climbed slowly, each step aching more from memory than age. In the far corner sat the cedar box Emmett kept his most private things in. I had not opened it since the year he died. Dust coated the lid. My hand hovered before I finally lifted it. Inside, everything was arranged with his familiar precision. His old wristwatch, a few photographs, a single envelope with my name on it, and a thick folder of legal papers tied with twine. I opened the envelope first. My Eudora. His handwriting began, strong and steady despite his illness. If you are reading this, it means I am no longer there to stand beside you. I need you to know I saw everything. I saw how you carried our daughter. Even when she forgot she had a mother, Havenmore House is yours alone. If Maribel ever turns against you, this house will protect you. The deed was tucked behind the letter. Havenmore House, fully restored by Emmett over 5 patient years, was listed under my name only. The transfer had been completed a full decade earlier. My fingers sank into the legal folder. Among the papers, I found a notarized document with crossed-out sections. At the bottom, a note from Emmett's attorney. Mr. Declan Rowe. Original intent split ownership between Maribel and Eudora. Revised at Emmett's request after hospital incident. I remembered that incident, Emmett had waited for Maribel at the hospital for nearly 3 hours after a surgery. She never came. She told me later she had a meeting she could not miss. I sat between boxes and memories, the letter shaking in my hands. Emmett had seen further ahead than I ever allowed myself to. That realization settled into me like a truth I had been trying not to speak for years, and it was time to stop looking away. I called Paulina Reyes the morning after I found Emmett's letter. Her voice came through the receiver warm, steady, unchanged since the days we shared coffee on courthouse benches. Eudora, you sound shaken. Tell me where you are. I met her at her small kitchen table, the one she still covered with legal pads out of habit. I placed Emmett's papers between us. She adjusted her glasses and began reading in silence. Her jaw tightened first, then her breath. Good Lord, Eudora. They hid all of this from you, I nodded. For years. Paulina tapped the deed, then the transfer documents. This is airtight. Emmett protected you better than any attorney could. Her eyes lifted to mine, sharp, with something between anger and resolve. But your daughter and Gregory, they have been taking advantage of you in ways you did not even see. I opened my notebook, the quiet ledger, and slid it across the table. Paulina flipped through the entries, mortgage payments, boutique losses, repeated loans. Eudora, this is tens of thousands. I know. And this, she said, pointing to the final pages. This is manipulation written in ink. I hesitated before speaking. There is something else. Gregory had me sign a stack of documents last year, said it was a minor adjustment. Paulina pulled out her laptop, described the papers. When I finished, she stopped typing and looked at me with a heaviness I had not seen since her days in court. He used your signature for a personal loan. The amount is unclear, but the structure, it is illegal. If the bank discovered this, you would have been responsible. My stomach tightened. He did that under my name, yes, she said quietly. They did not just use you. They built their lives on your name. I closed the ledger. Then it is time to take it back. Paulina reached for another legal pad. I will help you gather everything. Audio. Statements. Every document they pushed under your nose. We will build this one step at a time. For the first time in a long while, I felt the ground shift in my favor. The night of the dinner replayed itself in my mind with a strange, icy clarity. I was seated between Aunt Loretta and Cousin Mindy, both speaking loudly enough for me to hear every word they wanted me to swallow. Some people do not know when to step aside, Loretta murmured, slicing her roast. Mindy nodded eagerly. Old folks take up space without realizing it. Maribel didn't shush them. She lifted her wine glass and smirked as if their cruelty were part of the entertainment. Across from me, Gregory Holt cleared his throat and slid a crisp packet of papers toward my plate. Eudora, we need your signature on this. Just a routine transfer. Keeps the household assets organized. I didn't touch the papers. If it is routine, you can explain it to me plainly. Gregory's smile tightened. It is complicated, but harmless. Maribel leaned forward. Mom, stop being dramatic. Just sign it. No, I said. The words steady and grounded. Not tonight. The sound of my refusal cracked the air. Greg's jaw tensed. Loretta rolled her eyes. Mindy whispered something that made Loretta laugh. Maribel lifted her wine glass again, her voice suddenly sharp. You make everything difficult. You are impossible. I am protecting myself, I answered. She stood so quickly her chair scraped the floor. Protecting yourself. She threw the wine across the table in one violent arc. You have until sunrise to leave my house. Gasps and laughter mingled around us. Wine soaked my blouse, dripping down my arm, cold and humiliating. I did not break. I wiped my face with my sleeve, lifted my chin, and reached into my bag. When I placed the brass key on the table, the room stilled. Gregory lunged for it, his fingers brushing the metal, but I snatched it back before he touched it. My stare met his with a warning he finally understood. "This," I said quietly, "is not yours to hold." The moment Gregory's hand twitched toward the key, I slipped it back into my palm and pulled out my phone instead. I tapped the screen once. Paulina's face appeared instantly, framed by the soft light of her kitchen. "Eudora," she said, her voice calm and firm. "I am here." Mindy let out a startled whisper. Loretta stiffened. Gregory swore under his breath. Maribel shot forward. "What are you doing?" "Hang that up." "No," I replied. "You wanted clarity? Here it is." Paulina adjusted her glasses. "Since everyone is present, I will speak plainly. The key your mother placed on the table opens a safe containing the original documents left by her late husband, Emmett Lane." Gregory blinked hard. "What documents?" "The deed," Paulina said. "Havenmore House is legally and fully owned by Eudora Lane. Not shared, not temporary, not inherited by her daughter. Sole ownership." A gasp ripple moved through the room. Maribel's face blanched. "That house was supposed to be—" "It was never yours," Paulina interrupted. "Emmett executed transfer papers a decade ago." I watched Maribel flinch, her knuckles whitening as she gripped the back of her chair. Paulina lifted another sheet. "We also have documentation of identity misuse. Loans taken under Eudora's name without informed consent." Gregory slumped into his seat, rubbing his temples. "This is getting blown out of proportion." Paulina continued without pausing. "The bank statements say otherwise." Loretta muttered something about needing fresh air. Mindy pushed her chair back, eyes wide. Then Paulina revealed the final page. "One more thing." Emmett added a clause. "If Eudora is ever harmed, humiliated, or forced out by family, all secondary assets tied to the Holt household freeze instantly, automatically. No signatures required." Maribel's mouth fell open. "You cannot be serious." "I am," Paulina said. "And legally, it is already in effect." I rested my hand on the table, feeling every gaze shift toward me. For the first time in years, the room was quiet, truly quiet, and every thread of control sat firmly in my hands. The investigators arrived 2 days after the dinner. Their knock echoed through the hallway of Maribel's home, as if it were meant for everyone in Santa Rosa to hear. Gregory opened the door, his voice too cheerful, too forced. But the moment they showed their badges, the color drained from his face. I do not understand what this is about," he stammered. One of the investigators replied, "We are looking into a series of loans tied to your household. Several documents suggest identity misuse involving Eudora Lane." Gregory looked at me like I had betrayed him. When all he had done was sign my name into debt, that must be some mistake. He said quickly, "My mother-in-law is confused." "I am not confused," I answered. "You used my signature without consent." The investigator nodded. "We will need you to come with us for formal questioning." Maribel appeared on the staircase, wrapped in a robe, eyes wild. "Greg, what is happening?" he whispered back. "They think I did something wrong. Say something. Fix it." She looked at me with disbelief. "Mom, did you call them? You are ruining everything." Loretta, who had been so eager to cheer my humiliation, now hovered near the doorway, pretending she barely knew them. Mindy avoided my eyes completely. The whole wine country community of Santa Rosa moved quickly, whispers in grocery stores, mutters at vineyard tours, neighbors offering tight smiles but distant steps. Everyone knew what Maribel had done at that dinner. They replayed the story like a scandalous tale, eager to separate themselves from the cruelty. Maribel paced the living room, her voice cracking. "This is all your fault. You pushed us into a corner. None of this would have happened if you had just helped us." I sat down on the edge of the sofa. "I helped you for years. You mistook sacrifice for obligation. Gregory sighed, his shoulders slumping. She is right, Maribel. I pushed you. I told you your mother would always forgive us. I thought she would never fight back. Maribel stared at him, stunned, betrayed by the man she had defended so fiercely. For once, she had no quick retort ready, no sharp words waiting to cut. And in that silence, the life they had built on borrowed names and borrowed kindness began to crumble around them. Havenmore House sat on the edge of the Sonoma coast like it had been waiting for me. The air there was different, salted, open, nothing like the heavy rooms I had been living in. I unlocked the door with the brass key, the same one that had silenced an entire table, and stepped inside the quiet Emmett built for us. I spoke aloud even though no one was there. I made it. Emmett, I finally made it. The house needed care, but not the frantic kind Maribel always demanded. Just gentle hands. Patient hands. I began with his old workshop. Dust covered every surface, but the tools were still in the order he left them. I wiped them down one by one, the familiar weight grounding me. Later, outside, I knelt in the soil and planted rosemary and lavender, his favorites. He believed those two scents could steady any storm. As I pressed the roots into the earth, something in my chest settled for the first time in years. Inside, I opened the quiet ledger. So many pages, so much I had carried. I turned to a blank sheet and wrote slowly, debt closed. Life reopened. I closed the ledger with a finality that felt like breathing again. A knock came at the door around dusk. Not a person, just the postal carrier leaving a stack of forwarded mail. Among the envelopes was one with Maribel's handwriting. I held it for a moment before opening it. Her words spilled out fast and sharp. Mom, everything is falling apart. Gregory is blaming me. People are talking. You have to help. You caused this. Fix it. Not one apology. Not one acknowledgement of what she had done. I folded the letter and placed it beside the ledger. The ocean wind slipped through the open window, lifting the page edges like they were asking to be turned. I let them rest exactly where they were. Maribel agreed to meet at a small mediation office off Courthouse Square, the kind of place where people whispered even when no one else was around. I arrived early and placed two objects on the table in front of me, the wine glass from that night and the brass key. They sat between us like witnesses. When Maribel walked in, she froze at the sight of them. Her voice wavered. Why would you bring those? I didn't raise my tone. Because symbols matter. You used that glass to shame me. And this key. You spent years pretending it didn't exist. She sank into the chair opposite mine. Her eyes were red, her hands trembling. Mom, things have been horrible. Gregory is under investigation. I am losing everything. You have to help me. The mediator quietly set a folder in front of me. Mrs. Lane, you can begin whenever you are ready. I opened it and slid the first document across the table. This ends today. Maribel, no more guarantees. No more liabilities tied to my name. No more access to anything that belongs to me. She pushed the papers back toward me with a desperate shake of her head. You cannot do this. After everything I have done, after everything we built. What we built, I said, was me carrying you while you blamed me for the weight. She blinked hard, tears welling. I never meant for it to go this far. I set my hand gently on the wine glass. You once gave me until sunrise to disappear. Today, I give you the rest of your life to become someone your children will not fear. Her breath caught. So, that is it. I signed every document with steady strokes. This is freedom, Maribel, for both of us. When it was done, I stood, picked up only the wine glass, and left the brass key on the table. She stared at it, confused. It is not forgiveness, I said softly. It is a reminder. Truth always unlocks itself. Her shoulders crumpled as the mediator stepped away to give her privacy. She cried, not because the money was gone, but because the one person she thought would always come back no longer belonged to her world. If my story stayed with you, tap like, leave your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more stories like this.